I feel like I fully nailed it.
You fully nailed it, Tara. I was like, wow, Tara's nailing this.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to After Broadway, the podcast where we deep dive into anything and everything musical theater from the comfort of my car. I'm Tara.
I'm Stefania.
And in today's episode, we're talking all about Sing Street. Don't be fooled. Sing Street is not coming to Broadway at this very moment. But
we were about to break the news. We were about to announce. We had the scoop.
We've talked about Sing Street off and on, basically since we started this podcast, because it was in the works for a long time. Then it had a New York Theater Workshop run. Then it was announced a Broadway run. Then the pandemic happened. Then they had an out-of-town run in Boston last year. And now it's still kind of up in the air of will this musical ever make its way to the stage? So while we wait for that, we figured, let's talk about this movie, because you always talk about this movie. It was a musical movie that you really loved, and I had never seen it until yesterday. But before we get into that, let's talk about some news that's happened in the last 24 hours. It's July 11th when we're recording this episode. Some personal some theater. But theater news first. So yesterday, the announcement came that Eva Noblezada will be leaving Hadestown in August. And I was thinking about this today, but when was the last time a show lasted this long with its original cast members?
This was a unique situation because of the pandemic, with a year and a half of closure in the middle. But yeah, when did it win Best Musical at the Tonys?
2019.
2019? So it's 4 years later, and our original two stars, Orpheus and Eurydice, are still there.
Mm-hmm. And our original star, Orpheus, will still be there.
He will still be there. He stayed in Spider-Man for a long time, if I'm not mistaken.
So long, yeah. But yeah, Eva is leaving, and the internet assumes that she's leaving because she has something lined up. Which maybe leads me to my next piece of news, which is finally we have learned that Cabaret is transferring to Broadway. This is the London West End production of Cabaret. There were rumors that this is the Eddie Redmayne led. His name is not attached to the cast announcement today, but it's still, I think, a looming rumor.
That's what people still think.
And thanks to Melanie LeBerry and some other people on the internet, we're now placing Eva Noblezada in the Sally Bowles casting arc. And I'm happy with this. I think she'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'd be very, very excited to see her do something like that. I think it would be kind of different from things she's done before. So yeah, I'd be interested.
A little similar to Eurydice, not really, but a little grungy.
Sure.
You haven't seen Hadestown yet, so
You're right. I haven't seen Hadestown yet. Maybe this week.
Maybe. And the last piece of theater news is that, we knew that Matt Doyle was leaving Little Shop of Horrors this weekend, I believe, but now we know that he's going to do a run of a musical that nobody asked for, no disrespect to the Sinatra family, but it's a Frank Sinatra, bio musical.
Oh, God. I'm falling asleep.
So, congrats to Matt, I guess? Question mark? I don't know.
There was a sweet story that I saw on Twitter where they were auditioning people for this, and Frank Sinatra's daughter was in the audition rooms, and she was like, no, that's not my father, that's not my father. But Matt Doyle came in and said, I'm half Italian. And she's like, that's him, that's my dad. So,
wow.
The half Italian is strong, okay? It really, it opens some doors for you.
I didn't read that. That's so funny. So I don't know how long that's going on for. I think it's a few weeks in London, and then I just saw it on Playbills ones to watch could potentially transfer. We know Broadway loves a bio musical, so
they do. That's probably the goal of it, is to transfer, but maybe it's bad.
We'll see what happens.
Even if it is bad, it'll probably transfer.
Honestly, you're right, because it's Frank Sinatra, it's a name player.
The Neil Diamond musical is still
going strong. And they're going on tour.
And I think it'll run for a while, because everyone wants to sing Sweet Caroline with 1,000 other people.
I think they just extended. I think it was extended past what they originally thought, so congrats to Will Swenson and company. And then, Steph, do you want to share the personal news?
our personal news that today I participated in the Eras Tour pre-sale and walked away a victor.
Can't
walked
believe
away.
it.
In Europe.
We're going back to Europe.
Going to Europe to see Taylor.
Yeah, for anyone that listens to us in Canada, as you know, Taylor Swift is not coming to Canada, so we've all had to figure out other means to get to see her.
Which means going to, I was going to say remote. It's not that remote. We're going to a city in Europe we've never been to before, which was on purpose. I only signed up for pre-sales in places I'd never been to before to, use it as an excuse to see a new country, a new city. So, exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff.
That's theater. The Eras Tour is theater.
That's art.
It's art.
It is.
It's not a joke. It's theater.
No, it is theater. It's a full show. It's a 3-hour show. No intermission. No intermission.
Like, good for her. It's crazy. Yeah, it's a long show. All her. Barely leaves the stage.
And literally, 20 minutes ago, I didn't realize that Paramore was opening this, so now I'm even more excited.
I know. It's a good opener. Yeah, in the States, they've been having 2 openers, but it looks like they're going to have 1 in Europe and 1 in South America, which is fine.
Are we ever going to get a Taylor Swift jukebox musical? What do you think?
Well, I did say that they should have had a Taylor song in & Juliet.
Yeah, because Max Martin has worked with her, too.
Yeah. Yeah,
and allegedly is working with her right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his name has been floating around because she's been every day that she's not on tour, she's at the studio in New York, and his name has been floating around.
Amazing. I mean, love that. Yeah, he has stuff with her on Red, I think, mostly. I Knew You Were Trouble, I think, is Max Martin.
That could have, I think we discussed this, but that could have easily been in & Juliet.
I Knew You Were Trouble when you walked in. Shame on me.
Romeo.
Yeah, okay, if we get a Taylor jukebox musical, this is the thing, because Taylor's had so many eras, how do you even pick? How do you even pick which songs? And it's not a bio-musical, in my opinion.
No, honestly, it would be kind of like Once Upon a One More Time, but we're already doing that right now.
Yes, but that's so true, like a fairy tale story.
Yeah.
But Britney's catalog, Love Britney, is just not as large, in my opinion, as Taylor's.
No.
I don't know how many albums Britney has, but Taylor at this point
I think she has a lot, but a lot of the songs are not as memorable as others.
That's the thing with Taylor, everyone listens to full albums, whereas with Britney's more of a singles artist, which is just a symptom of the time that they became famous, became stars. But yeah, I would be really, I don't know what you would do with a Taylor musical. I think that's very far in the future, personally, if it ever happens. But I'll be there.
Front row, we're ready to go. So yeah, that was all of the news. And now let's talk about Sing Street. So Steph, what is your relationship with this show, this movie, this everything?
So the movie Sing Street came out in the year 2016. And I was trying to remember why I watched it in the first place. I really think I had just seen someone on Twitter, I really don't remember who, saying this should have been nominated for the Golden Globe for Best Comedy or Musical. And I was like, okay, well, love music. And also, it's directed by the same person who directed the movie Once. John Carney wrote and directed the movie Once, and he wrote and directed the movie Sing Street. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of, I was like, I love the musical Once.
Like a gateway. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I love the musical Once. The poster looked fun. I was like, let me watch it. And I think I just watched it in my bedroom, on my computer, by myself. And I just loved it. I thought it was so well done.
Wasn't it nominated for a Globe?
Maybe it was. Maybe they were like, it should have won. It might have been.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it says 2017 nominee Golden Globe.
Look at that. Okay, they were like, they should have won. Who are the competitors? Who is it? I mean, as we know, the Golden Globes are meaningless, and I also think they don't exist anymore.
Isn't it back?
No, I thought they were back. I thought the Foreign Press was being folded into something else.
Take a guess what won in 2017, musical or comedy?
La La Land? No,
yes.
That's the year after. La La Land.
Yeah. So, I mean...
I guess.
Also in the musical comedy category, Deadpool, Florence Foster Jenkins, and 20th Century Woman. So...
Okay, so pretty thin. Pretty thin.
I mean, Deadpool probably could have won for comedy if they really wanted to go there, but like La La Land is in its own category within all of those movies. Yeah.
Like, did La La Land win Best Comedy or Musical, and then Moonlight win Best Drama, and then you know, the Oscars were what they were. Yeah. So wow.
Also, the year of Manchester by the Sea, Lion. We love this year. We've talked about this year before.
We have talked about this year because we talked about La La Land.
Yeah, Moana was the animated, but didn't win. Zootopia won that year, but like musical-wise, Sing also came out that year. Yeah, lots of good stuff.
But yeah, basically, I watched this movie by myself, and I really loved it.
What did you watch it on? Do you remember? I think it was on Netflix at the time.
Yes, but I don't think I had Netflix at the time. It might have been just like 1, 2, 3 movies.
Oh, great. Because I only say this because, like, in looking for it now, it's still on European Netflix, but it's not on Canadian Netflix.
And where did we watch it, Tara? Tell everyone.
We watched it on Tubi.
Tubi.
I, last night, downloaded the Tubi app to my Amazon Fire Stick.
Wow.
I didn't realize that there would be ads.
It's elaborate.
Honestly, like...
They weren't that bad.
Not that bad. There was probably like 4 or 5 ads throughout the entire thing. They were very quick. Not even, I felt like they were shorter than a YouTube ad sometimes. And like perfect quality on Tubi. Obsessed.
I just watched it on my computer again this time. I logged into the Tubi app. I had to make an account. I just used my Google account and I got to watch Sing Street. It was very easy. Yeah. So let's stand for Tubi. Let's go.
What else is on Tubi? What are we missing?
Can I tell you, I had to explain to my friend what stan meant. And so I was like,
why don't you explain it to us?
Okay, so she was at work and someone was they were talking about Taylor Swift, and they were talking about stans, and her boss was trying to explain to everyone what a stan was, and she's like, I don't really understand what a stan is, and I was like, okay, do you know the Eminem song Stan? And she's like, no, and I'm like, sorry, what? Do your homework. So I was like, okay, you have to go home. And I was like, ask your husband to show you the Eminem music video Stan, because he'll know. So the Eminem music video, or the Eminem song Stan, is about a crazy super fan of Eminem's and just like kind of increasingly deranged letters that he sent to Eminem.
Yeah.
In like the summary. But now we use Stan based on this music video and this moment as a word for something stronger than fan.
It's like a super fan, but like almost like more than a super fan.
Like an obsessive fan.
Yeah.
And also, I was like, also you can use it as a verb in the way you can't use fan as a verb. You could be like, I stan this. You can't be like, I fan this.
Right.
Well, I guess you could. But
I mean, you could, but yeah.
You're like, I stan the musical Sing Street, or the movie Sing Street.
We stan Tubi, and also while we're on Tubi, just while we're here, might as well make a shameless promotion. My brother's movie, Robbery, is on Tubi. Oh, so anyone listening that has Tubi, type in Robbery and you can watch it.
You can watch. And you can look for Tara's name in the credits.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I forgot that happened until I just like Googled it.
What's on Tubi? Yeah. We love, so many things are now paid. And you know what? Sometimes I'd rather watch an ad than pay a membership fee.
No, I agree. And again, like not bothersome ads, so it really was fine.
Really barely noticed them. But yeah, when I first watched it, I really kind of adored this movie. I loved kind of how quiet and, I was going to say simple. Simple's not the right word for it, but I love that it was like a family story about...
Yeah, give us a like brief synopsis.
Okay, a brief synopsis. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have our main character, Connor. His family is going through a financial hard time, so they take him out of the school he was going to and send him to a public, like, Catholic school, I think. Yeah. They're in Ireland, so, yeah, it's a public Catholic school. And he does not fit in, and he is kind of looking for a place to fit in. So he sees this girl across the street. It's an all-boys school. He sees this girl across the street, and he's like, love her. She's so beautiful. She's so pretty. So he goes to her and basically lies and says he's in a band to impress her. And so then she's like, okay, I'll be in your music video. He's got to make a band so that they can film a music video so he can hang out with her. And then they kind of end up creating art. This band ends up becoming his passion, his motivation. And he finds like a found family with the band, I think. I loved when he kept going to Eamon's house to write music. You know, whenever he needed to like work something out or talk something out, he would just show up at Eamon's house being like, you want to write a song?
I'm here. Yeah.
And be like, yeah. And basically, by the end of the movie, by the end of the story, Connor wants something bigger, and he thinks that maybe music or maybe leaving is his way out. I don't know. Is there really more to it than this? Do you think? No. That's really different. There's different things. His parents are getting a divorce, and his brother
is like having a hard time.
Yes, his brother's having a hard time. I love the brother character. I would love we could talk about the brother character for a long time, and I think like what they do with him in the movie is really smart. But yeah, I just really adored this movie when I watched it, and when I watched it again, there were parts that I'd kind of confused. I thought certain parts were at certain parts, but the whole essence of the movie was exactly how I remembered it, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the movie, Tara?
So I, again, had always, like, you had always recommended this movie, mm-hmm. and then obviously, like, we tried to see this in 2019 when we were in New York at New York Theater Workshop.
All that was available was, like, we were entering the lottery.
You were entering lotteries, yeah. There might have been, like, a digital rush also, but, like, it was a very hard ticket. It was a very hard ticket to get. And everyone seemed to, we'll get more into this, but everyone seemed to really love it there. Then we had the trip planned for New York in 2020 in April, and we were going to go. It was going to be at the Lyceum. The tickets were on sale. We were going to go.
$30 tickets in the, like, top at the Lyceum.
Yeah.
And be there.
And just see it. So I think for that reason, because I always thought in my mind that we were going to see it,
and
I just
you've heard
never
the cast
watched.
recording, which is the same music.
Exactly. But I didn't watch the movie because I wanted to see it first because we were literally going to go. And then I feel like when we were discussing what to do for an episode, I'm like, well, are we ever going to see this? Let's just watch this movie and talk about it. I loved it. I think it's I don't want to say that it's very rare these days that you get a movie that's just like a lovely story, but like you kind of do, and it's very like stripped back. You can tell that like, I don't want to say that it's like lower budget because I think they did a really good job with what they had, but like we were just saying before we started recording, like one of the things I loved was that they didn't try too hard on like their makeup because they're kids. Mm-hmm. So like they didn't cover that he had like rosacea. There's a scene when Lucy Boynton, who like she's not wearing any makeup, and like she would never not wear makeup in any movie that she's in these days. It just felt like such a like lovely, well-made, like wholesome movie. And then on top of that, the music is so good. It's like really, really good stuff that we've said this before, and I can't remember who the person is that like said it for the very first time, but like when you see this movie, you're like, oh, this movie sings. This needs to be on stage. Like, why is this not on stage? And I would love to see it in like concert form, like literally anything. It reminded me of Coda. I know the kid is in Coda, but it kind of reminded me like of Coda in like a sense.
Almost a small family story. Mm-hmm. You know, they're in school, so that's the similar. A movie I was thinking about watching it, and maybe because like Ireland, though this movie's in Northern Ireland, but it reminded me a bit of Belfast watching it this time. And I never saw Belfast. Different. Yeah, they are quite different, but you know, the idea of this kid in this family just trying to like make his way and see how it's gonna go. And Belfast was a bit more high concept than this. Like this was very low concept. Like there was barely a concept.
It was literally just like a day in the life. That's what it kind of felt like, which was like nice. Also, an hour and 45 minutes. Great.
Christ. No, was it last episode or maybe 2 episodes ago? I was like, I love boring things, and I think this is one of those movies that falls into that category. We're not doing too much. We're not trying to distract. There's no special effects. This is boring, but like in the best way.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing, but like you don't have to be like paying attention the entire time, like really focusing to know what's going on. It's just like simple. Yeah, it's very simple. It's easy to like grasp the concept, and at the end of the day, it's just like a really well done like piece of art. I don't know, like I mean, now is probably the time to like talk about the music, but I really think this music is the reason that even like a Broadway show was discussed, because they took every song except for like a couple, but everything that's written by like Sing Street is in the musical. But my main question is, because I always like struggle with this when looking at like movie musicals, like what classifies a movie musical versus like a movie with music? Because to me, I feel like this is more of a movie with music than like a straight up musical. Do you know what I mean?
Almost all of the songs in this movie are what we would call diegetic. Are we familiar with this word? Are we going to do a vocabulary lesson for the audience here?
I mean, we already talked about Stan, so let's do this one too.
Let's do it. Okay. So when the songs in a musical or in a movie are diegetic, the characters are aware that the song is happening. So a song that is non-diegetic is for the audience's ears only. So most of the songs in this movie are diegetic. The characters are singing. People are hearing them sing. But an example of a non-diegetic song in this movie is at the end, let's say where they're on the boat leaving, there's that, the song is Go Now, and it's sung by Adam Levine in the movie.
We'll,
and that
we'll get back to Adam Levine in a second because I want to talk about him in a minute.
We will get back to Adam Levine in one moment. But that song is non-diegetic because the characters are not aware that it's being sung. If that's
Although, in the musical, I'm pretty sure the characters sing it. Yeah.
Yes, so in the musical, I believe the brother character sings it. I think even in the movie, it's meant to be from his voice. I believe those lyrics are meant to be his words. They're meant to be, at the end of the movie, he gives him some lyrics to take with him. I think that song is meant to be those lyrics, those words. But yeah, all these songs, are they propelling the plot forward?
Like, yes and no.
It's a hard question.
See, it's hard to say.
There's no story happening in the song, and yet we're at a different place when the song is over than when the song began. Right.
And again, it's like, I feel like if we saw this on stage, it would really help, like, figure this mentality out.
Yes, so true.
But it's also hard to, like, I agree with exactly what you're saying, but also the story is about a band, so it would be weird if like they didn't sing, you know what I mean?
No,
so it's
absolutely.
like, I don't know, this is the only, there's like a couple other movies I guess I could think about this too, but this one really stuck out to me of like, is this truly a movie musical?
They do sing about things that are happening in their lives. Like they will write a song, you know, he writes a song about the riddle of the model. He writes a song about, you know, a beautiful sea, this girl is a beautiful sea, or like what's the one, like Find You or Dream You or something like that? I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, To Find You.
To Find You. You know, as their relationship changes, he's writing different kinds of songs about Rafina. Is he writing about his family as much? Not as much.
No, but I again, another question I have, if anyone has seen Sing Street on stage, like, please let us know. Like, I'm assuming we go a little bit more into the storyline. However, like, again, like, there's only 12 songs on that cast recording. So it's not, and there's 8 songs in the movie that they write, that the Sing Street people write.
The movie soundtrack has Riddle of the Model, Up, Beautiful Sea, Drive It Like You Stole It, Girls, To Find You, Brown Shoes, 7, and then Go Now, which is the original song, but it's not
sung by Sing Street.
It's not sung by them. Yeah. Which also, oddly, on Spotify is like, it's not available. It's grayed out on the album, the movie soundtrack, the Adam Levine version.
What? Spotify Canada, we gotta talk.
What? Like, I need to hear Adam Levine's voice.
I mean, while we're here, we're gonna go into music, but let's start here because Adam Levine, I believe, also helped write. Did he only write this one? I thought he maybe was like supervisor. This is like kind of what I'm getting again from our most reliable source, Wikipedia. That like he helped.
So they had worked. John Carney had worked with Adam Levine in the movie Begin Again.
This is where I want to go.
Right. Let's talk about Begin Again.
Because, so Adam Levine obviously wrote this song, Go Now, which is, I mean, I love this song. I like am obsessed with the way that this song is on the musical cast recording. It's so great. What a great way to end your album. Yeah. I think it's a really well done.
Builds.
It's so good. Like the guitar, the like almost like yelling, the vocalizing that happens. It's like, it's really, really good stuff.
It's like a release, I believe. So, sorry, I'm going to interrupt for 1 minute. So the brother character in the movie, you never see him outside the house until the end. He is always in the house. He is like trapped in the end. And so in the musical, I believe, you don't hear him sing until the end, kind of to parallel that thing. That's the only song he sings. So he's trapped in that house, and when his brother asks him at the end of the movie, can you... Or there's a moment earlier when he's like on the porch, but he's still like within the confines of the house, but he's like venturing. He's slowly venturing.
Is this the guy from Love Life? Yes, right?
On the cast recording, it is the guy from Love Life. I can't remember his name right now.
Gus Helper?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was on that one episode of Love Life.
Which when we watch Love Life in 2020, I'm like, oh my god, that's the guy from Sing Street. So like really one of the same.
Exactly. And so yeah, they parallel, or they represent the same thing by having him like hold in his singing until this moment. And so that's why it's such a release, because it's been pent up the whole time.
Mm-hmm. So with this song, Go Now, again written by Adam Levine, also, as you said, John Carney worked with him on Begin Again.
Which
Lost Stars.
A nice movie.
Another nice movie. Begin Again is like kind of in the same like vein of like nice, lovely story. Again, I don't know if it's like a movie musical. That one's probably more of a movie with music than like Sing Street is. But like Lost Stars, maybe one of the best songs Adam Levine has ever put out. It is so good. It's so good. And when I was listening to Go Now, and then when I like realized that Adam Levine wrote that song, I'm like, oh my god, this makes so much sense. Like, it's the same kind of vibe. What year was Begin Again? Around like kind of the same time, no?
2012, maybe?
Oh, so way earlier. Oh, 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like 4 years in between.
Keira Knightley, Mark Ruffalo.
I love that movie.
Movie.
I love that song.
Lost Stars, a beautiful song.
Love that song. Nominated for an Oscar. Not anything from Sing Street nominated for an Oscar.
No, they didn't give it the credit. They didn't give it the credit. Okay, so are you saying your favorite song in
is Go Now?
Okay.
No, I just wanted to bring up Adam Levine, Lost Stars, that connection. My favorite song in Sing Street. I mean, there are like reasons. I think the most iconic song from this entire movie is Drive It Like You Stole It, because it's just literally such a showstopper of a song.
I love the music video. Like,
it's so good.
His imagining of it. His parents are there. His brother is there. Everyone is there. Rafina is there.
The principal, priest, whatever he is, like he's like doing backflips and dancing. It's just like literally it is a certified bop. Drive It Like You Stole It is a certified bop. So I would say for like iconicness.
Is this the Act 1 finale? Beautiful, like.
I think so.
Because to me that feels like where you want to go out on in that moment. But let's confirm.
If anyone has seen Sing Street, we will try and find a playbill after we record to find out where this actually is. But if anyone has seen Sing Street on stage, please let us know what the Act 1 finale is. But yeah, I just think like out of the entire movie, this is probably the most iconic song to come out of this band. However, I also love Up. I think it's beautiful.
Up. Yes. There's a video of the most recent production of them singing Up on the
Yes,
stage.
I saw it.
Quite good.
Yeah.
It's quite good. Yes, those are the top songs. The other one I would go with is Beautiful Sea. I like that it's like a duet moment.
A beautiful sea. So nice.
Yeah, Beautiful Sea is another one of my favorites. Like those are my top ones, I would say. Let me look at the Spotify listing and see if there's any other ones that need to be.
I just remember it was early 2020. I don't remember off the top of my head what episode it was, but we were definitely recording at home, and I remember the Sing Street album coming out, and I don't know if it was in our Full Obsessions episode, but it was definitely like an obsession of yours.
I actually remember.
Was this Jake Epstein episode?
It was Jake Epstein's episode that we talked about it with.
And it was your obsession Go Now? I think it was.
It might have been Go Now. Or a Beautiful Sea. One of those.
So that was what, April 2020?
3+ years ago.
And I just remember like, so you had listened to that cast recording. This was in a time when like me and you were deep in a cast recording phase. We were listening to like every cast recording.
It was a time.
Octet was that year. A Strange Loop was that year. Like we like really got into. We really got Alice by Heart was that year. Like, we really got into our cast recordings that year. And I just remember you listening to Sing Street and you were like, you got to listen to this. And as soon as I listened to it, I was like, this is such a well-mastered album. And I thought at the time, like, what a great idea to put this out when you don't know the life of your Broadway show. Because also, if we take it back in time, Sing Street was one of the first shows to announce that they wouldn't be coming back after their, like, 2-week break. They were already going to go to, like, December. They were going to delay on purpose because, like, they thought that if they delayed on purpose, then people would potentially buy tickets for when theater was back. Turns out theater wasn't back at that time, and then they, like, got canceled outright altogether.
Now it's just, like, an unnamed Schubert Theater, maybe.
Right. Well, that's, like, the most recent. So let's flash forward to 2022, Boston. So last summer, I believe, was another out-of-town tryout for Sing Street. Because although everyone loved the New York Theater Workshop version of this show, I think everyone kind of agreed that it was a little surprising that it was going straight to Broadway. I think people thought that it needed a second out-of-town somewhere just to, like, work out some of the kinks. And then obviously COVID happened, and then they had their second out-of-town tryout last summer.
With an almost entirely new cast.
Almost entirely new cast. And then what was so interesting to me, which I'm going to pull up right now, is the song list, the musical numbers list. You know Sonia Taye is a choreographer on this? Do we know that?
I do, and I absolutely love that.
I know. So
love her.
In New York Theater Workshop, I'm just going to name them off. The show opens with Just Can't Get Enough, which is on the cast recording. Obviously not like a Sing Street song. And then the second song is Riddle of the Model. In Boston, Just Can't Get Enough is cut, and it starts with Riddle of the Model, which I thought was an interesting move there. Then we go again, so like Up is the second song, which it is the second song, but then we immediately get an Up reprise by Rafina, which is very different to the original. And
it looks
then
like they're giving her more opportunities to sing, if that makes sense, in the Boston run versus the original run.
Yeah. And then there's a new song here, Go On, which I don't even know if I've heard. I don't think we've heard it. Then we have A Beautiful Sea, Girls, To Find You, much earlier in the Boston run than it was in the New York Theater. It was like second last song. Now it's like close to the top. Then Drive It Like You Stole It, which to me, that is where the act break would be.
Yeah, I agree.
In Boston.
Make it that, like, music video, put everyone in a fun costume.
Yeah.
The entire cast is on stage.
Yeah. Then we get Up, Down version, which is on the cast recording. Faith of Our Fathers, Brown Shoes, To Find You Reprise, and then we still end with Go Now, but this time it's Brendan and company. So, and it says at the bottom of this page.
Moment.
Yeah. It says all songs were taken from the original film except Just Can't Get Enough, Faith of Our Fathers, and Dream for You. Dream for You, but Dream for You was cut from the Boston run. So, like, I have so many questions here because what happened in those 2 years? Like, did the team go back to the writing, like, boards? Like, why did we overhaul the cast? Like, what happened? And are we ever going to find out?
So, to me, cast is probably just based on availability. Mm-hmm. You know, it's been years. People get older. They age out of parts. These are parts for teenagers. And just your availability to do a months-long run of something.
Yeah.
It just changes. I really don't think there's anything to be, like, wondering about why the cast changed, in my opinion. I don't think they're like, oh, we hate all these people. I think it's just like, look, 2 years later, we just needed to recast. But yeah, it does seem that there are significant structural changes that have happened, and it's hard to comment on what we haven't seen either production. We're just kind of based off on reviews and postings and kind of word of mouth what happened. But looking even just at the song list, it looks like, you know, seeing Brendan and company as opposed to just Brendan. They've added to make it bigger, to make it suit a bigger house, because this story to me is very intimate and doesn't necessarily, as it's written in the movie, doesn't necessarily suit a Broadway house, or is it better in, like, a smaller, more intimate venue?
Mm-hmm. Also, with this Boston run, I read a bunch of reviews last summer, and although people still, like, liked the story, obviously loved the music, the general consensus was that it needed another out-of-town tryout. That it wasn't, like, quite ready to move to Broadway yet. So, I don't know.
You know, something that I remember us saying, and we're gonna laugh about it now, but back in 2020, we were like, Sing Street and Almost Famous should not go in at the same season because they'll just like...
You're so right.
Almost Famous will just like take up all the air out of Sing Street. And then turns out Almost Famous was a huge flop. Sing Street is nowhere to be seen.
Well, do you think that the like flopness of Almost Famous like sent a message to the Sing Street team? Because like musical style wise, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, somewhat. You know, we're
like
a decade
time
apart.
period.
We're hitting like 70s versus 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of like a young kid discovering music.
Because Almost Famous was also victim to, they had, I think their run was at the Globe Theater in San Diego, I believe, was the out-of-town tryout. Everyone loved it there. And then when it transferred to Broadway, they also made a ton of structural changes, which was apparently for the worse. I mean, I saw it. It was not good. But, like, knowing what I know about Sing Street and knowing what I know about Almost Famous, like, movie-wise, like, Almost Famous should have worked. And it didn't.
Right.
So,
yeah, no, I know.
I don't know if the Sing Street...
is a wonderful movie.
Yeah, and there's also just, like, a lot more going on that they could, like, grab onto. But, like, maybe they do need to lean into, like, an intimate... I don't know, maybe this is what we say with a lot of shows. Maybe this doesn't need Broadway. Maybe Broadway is the wrong place for it.
But then I think of something like Once, right?
Right.
Which I do think worked on Broadway, personally. Mm-hmm. And they're not exactly the same, but... Once is extremely intimate on stage. It is extremely small. And I don't say small, I mean the story is small. The world that the characters are occupying is so small. Mm-hmm. And I think that's similar with Sing Street. You know, up until the very end, it's so insular. Like, the world that they live in is very small. And so if they're able to do something like they did with Once and kind of just wrap the audience up in this small world, I think it could work. But there's like some romance, but the love story is a little bit different. You have to buy really into this kid as opposed to like that relationship.
And like, hate to say it, but if that kid is not like spectacular, then your show is done.
Yeah, he has to be really... like charismatic and charming.
Yeah, especially like live, like in your face, in front of you. But all that to say, I do actually think that like the theater scene is missing a show like this right now, because everything seems so like big or a revival. Like, there's nothing, to me, this feels like so original. And the original music that they created for this is so great that it almost feels like a waste. And I know this happens like literally every day, that like you workshop something and gets thrown in the garbage, but like they've been so close for so many years that I just want to see it happen.
Yeah, I know, it's true. And yeah, we are missing things that are, let's say, like low budget. And when I say low budget, I don't mean cheap to produce, but I mean, I don't know, how much set do you need? You know, you barely need a band because the characters are playing the instruments as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not having this like huge lighting thing. You're not having a huge everything that's happening you see on stage, and it's simple. And yeah, there's not as much shows. There's no big set. Like, there's not so much. And also, the
interesting thing about this is that, like, because it's so simple, you could really play into the dream sequence music video aspect of this. Yeah, you could really play around and have fun with that.
Make, like, a huge contrast for that moment.
Which they did on their YouTube videos. Like, they really did that. So I wonder, like, from what we've seen of that, like, new production, if you watched Up also, then, like, it's a very, like, bare set with... It almost looks like someone's basement. There's like a piano, and then there's like a sheet that is there's projection on it, which to me would be like, this is how they like watch the music videos, is like on this projected like sheet. But like, imagine a Drive It Like You Stole It scene on stage when like you literally go into the dream sequence. It's like not comparable, but I'm gonna make this comparison of like House of Holbein and Six. It's like that kind of a moment where it's just like,
it's so different from what you've seen before.
Yeah,
which is why it has impact. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah,
call me. I have suggestions. I'm ready to. I'm ready to get this on its feet. Out of town it here first. Let's do it.
Pitch. Yeah, come to Toronto. Do it out of town here. It's hard to comment on because we haven't seen it, and it's definitely probably still in development. Probably the next production that sees the light of day will be different from what they most recently did.
Yeah.
But I do think it's funny. The cast recording is out. Or that original version of the cast recording is out, and then by the time it makes it, let's say, to its quote-unquote final version, there might be all these changes that the cast recording doesn't reflect.
It's also, I would say, very rare that a cast recording like this came out for a show that no longer has, like, a launch date on Broadway. I think they obviously, like, it was a good move to record that when they did, not knowing that the pandemic was going to happen, but also, like, you have this album that audiences are now listening to, and they can never see something on stage of it. So it's kind of like a weird, I don't think they obviously planned for this to happen, but now I'm also so curious to know, like, in 2020, should the pandemic not have happened, like, what do you think the life of Sing Street, like, would have been?
In my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, we were even commenting back on the time, like, the Lyceum felt really big for this. It's a very, like, I mean, we've both been there now because we saw Strange Loop there, so it's, like, pretty steep. It goes, like, pretty high up, and if you're not going to use the space properly, like, you can kind of, like, get drowned by it, so...
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, A Strange Loop is kind of a quote-unquote small show until it's not.
Right.
You know? It's very... manual almost. Everything happens, you know, in the front of the stage until it doesn't.
Yeah.
So they take advantage of that big space. Right. But in the beginning, you're like, why are we in this space? And then you understand why. And I wonder if Sing Street would be able to do something kind of similar, being like, oh, it starts small, and then it's like, look at all this space that we have, and look at what we've created, and we've created this bombastic moment as a contrast to what we've seen before.
But I also remember when we were looking at tickets, like, there was so many available, so like it wasn't selling well.
Heavy sale. Heavy sale on them.
It's kind of interesting because, like, the last show right before Sing Street that was in the Lyceum was Be More Chill, who also did not do well, but they had an amazing, like, was it MCC? Is that where, I think that's where I saw it, run. Like, their off-Broadway run was sold out, like, but again, like, 200-person theater, where it's, like, a very intimate thing. And then their downfall, I think, was what we talked about literally on our Be More Chill episode, like, however many years ago, was that the target audience was young and they couldn't afford Broadway prices. And I actually think that kind of would ring true for this, too. It's also, like, it's not name recognition. Not many people have seen this movie.
Yeah. There's no star power, it seems. Like, no stunt casting, no star casting. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to understand or hard to know. We did get to see it be marketed a bit that first year, and I wonder how different the marketing would be now, but I don't think they were necessarily marketing it correctly, or the marketing wasn't having the impact that it needed to have to sustain a run on Broadway.
It's actually super interesting to bring that up because we talked about this, like, a few episodes ago now, but, like, the influencer of it all, and I would be interested with a show specifically like this to see what a social media presence could do for it.
So true.
I think a marketing campaign... I know, but I think a marketing campaign would be, like, super interesting for a show like this. Like, why not, like, put band posters of Sing Street all around New York City? Like, I want to see that. Band. Yeah. Again, I'm really ready with lots of ideas. So, like, someone just call me up.
We're standing it.
Yeah.
We're standing Sing Street.
And then if it ever did transfer and something ever happened, can't wait for the show to be licensed and then see it regionally, because I think that's really where it would thrive.
I agree. This show needs to be licensed. And now it's kind of in a limbo where
it's crazy.
They're not licensing it. They don't know if they're going to have a Broadway production at this point. They might have another out of town or another regional production. Nobody knows. And as an audience member, I'm just like, I want to see this. When will I get that opportunity?
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say on the movie?
I did. I had one thing to say on the movie. I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
How do you interpret the ending of the movie?
Like, what happens to them?
Yeah.
So, I think you kind of, like, explained at the beginning, but they basically, like, go on a boat and they, like, go off to... It's London, right? Is that where they're going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think they actually go. I don't really, like, when they see the people on, like, the cruise ship, I'm like, what's happening here? Like, I'm confused. They definitely do not end up together, is what happens in my mind, is that they both, like, needed this, like, friendship, like, fake half romance for, like, each other, but not, like, to be with each other. They just, like, needed it individually. I would like to believe that, like, she gets what she wants in the end, but I feel like he goes back. I don't know why, but I feel like he goes back to his family.
He goes back to his family. I mean, he's a 15-year-old, so, like...
I mean, she's, like, 16, so...
She's 16. I know, it's crazy. No, I brought that up because I was reading the IMDb trivia, as I do.
Yeah.
And there's a quote from John Carney, the writer-director, where he talks about the ending, and I thought it was really interesting because that's not how I interpreted it when I saw it. I'm someone who takes things at face value. You know what I mean?
You know, they literally just, like, went on a boat and went away?
I don't think that... I didn't think that deeply about it. I was just like, wow.
I will say that was the one part of the movie that I was like...
It's art. It doesn't have to all be literal. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. But we were, like, very literal, like, all the way through. Yes. Although of, like, the, like, music video dream sequences, which is why I thought that maybe this was, like, a dream sequence as well.
Okay. Let's go. Let me talk about it.
So but I did think that it was, like, a weird way to end the movie.
A weird ending.
Yeah.
It's open, and I love an open ending.
I know.
I love an open ending. So let me read this quote by John Carney about the ending. He said, "Well, I don't see it just as a happy romantic ending. I think that's the tone of the piece, but I think it's more like they're setting off together, that's true, but I wouldn't say that's some huge relationship that's going to last forever. They're kids. I sort of hope the scene at the end would look a little like a fantasy sequence. You're supposed to wonder where the reality ends and the pop video begins. But people are actually taking it very seriously, and people are presuming it's fully real, which is interesting. That wasn't the intention."
Wow, I feel like I fully nailed it.
You fully nailed it, Tara. I was like, wow, Tara's nailing this. I did not. I'm someone who just, like, takes
down to the point that I was like, she goes, he comes back, they don't end up together.
Like, it looks like a music video. No, you nailed it. You absolutely interpreted the ending correctly.
Wow. Again, I'm available for phone calls for Sing Street on stage, so, like,
I'd be interested to see how they stage that moment. I think
there's definitely no boat.
Well, I think maybe on stage they can maybe make that transition a bit more obvious, you know? You start maybe in a real way of them leaving, and then it maybe becomes, like, psychedelic or becomes dream sequency or something.
Like, Go Now, as we talked about earlier, like, the trajectory of that song starts very mellow, and then we, like, hit a beat when he, like, plays like strums the guitar, like, really hard. So I would imagine that could be, like, where you go into, like, alternative reality. Like, that would be the moment.
Yeah. And I think on stage you kind of have sometimes more freedom to do stuff like that.
I literally like picture the end of this, like, show on stage, just them just, like, rocking out with their guitars on stage, like, everyone just dancing around with, like, the lights going crazy. I don't know why, but, like, that's what I want. I just want, like, a free-flowing, like, fun musical, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Get everyone, let's go. Let's dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what the bows are, too. I wonder if there's, like, a song they play at the end.
I'm sure we can kind of find... I don't know. There's, like, really nothing from the New York Theater Workshop. Like, no one filmed the bows. Was this, like, before filming bows was acceptable?
This is 2019, so kind of?
Like, do we just not care now? Is that what it is?
I do think we kind of don't care. In the UK, a lot, it's very accepted. Sometimes they'll even say you can take out and film your bows.
Oh, yeah. Everyone is filming the Mamma Mia Mega Mix in the UK.
Yeah. But Broadway,
Six kind
I still
of...
think... Yeah, Six really blurred that line. But Broadway, I still think, is a little more rigid on it. People do it all the time. But Broadway is still a little more rigid on those kind of rules, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because I remember at Almost Famous, like, everyone pulled out their phones for when they sang.
And I'm sure a lot of shows are now creating a filmable moment for their bows, you know?
For social media, yeah.
For social media, you know, I mean, it doesn't work for all shows, but they might be doing a bit more choreography after the bows, or making them a bit interesting so that people want to watch them, or people want to watch them. Like, maybe, is this a Beetlejuice thing? You know, how they would do something different every night?
That, but like 2 good examples of shows that are currently on right now. Back to the Future does a whole musical number for their bows now with like handheld microphones. And
Fantastic.
then Once Upon a One More Time, they're like encouraging everyone to film that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like doing a musical number post bows is not new.
No.
But I do think that when they're doing it now, when they're thinking about it now, they're thinking about the social media moment. They're thinking about someone posting it on TikTok. They're thinking about someone, you know, being like, first preview bows, almost famous, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's true.
They're thinking about that when they're staging that moment. In a way that they weren't before, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly think if the show ever made it, like, social media marketing would be a huge thing with it. I think it would, like, really benefit them in this day and age of, I don't know. There's so many apps, though, now. It's
a
like,
little confusing where
what
the
is
best
Threads?
place is to get information. No, I know, because Twitter is obviously falling apart at the seams. And then there's Threads, which there's not really that much, you know, uptake on it. There is, but there isn't. Like, people made the account, but no one's really on there.
No, I would say for, like, the content that we're, like, looking for here, like, TikTok is the space now.
TikTok, absolutely.
It does seem like TikTok is the space for, like, I mean, some of the people that we follow, like Ashley Hufford, Kate, Theater is Life, like, they're posting their daily, like, here's my trip to the theater, which includes,
and they're speaking directly to us.
Playbill, bows, like, all of that is in there. So I do think that TikTok is the place for that. I don't know. It would be interesting to see. I'm actually interested in, like, all shows' marketing plans going forward after what we saw from Shucked. So
yeah,
it's kind of like an exciting time in that sense, but also kind of scary. But I do think that Broadway is missing a show like this. So I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever know. It will be interesting to look back on this one day and be like, remember when we talked about that movie Sing Street and its life on Broadway? Nothing ever happened with it.
But we're going to open on Broadway. We're going to reshare this episode. We're going to open on Broadway. We're going to reshare this episode and be like, we were there when. Exactly. We've been talking about this musical the entire
not
time
me,
we've had
but
this
like
podcast.
You were there then. You were ready.
I was there. I watched this movie.
Yeah. Should we rank it?
Oh, out of 5 or
10.
Out of 10. Are we doing 10 now? Okay. I'm gonna give the movie 9 out of 10 brown shoes.
Wow. I thought you would go 10 out of 10, but you're never a 10 out of 10, I feel.
One day there will be a 10 out of 10, but no.
Oh, actually, I think West Side Story was like a 5 out of 5 for you when we saw it.
I did love that.
Yeah.
I did really love West Side Story.
Okay, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10 eyeliners, because I feel like we didn't talk about the makeup journey that he goes through in this movie.
I love where she shows up and she's like, I can do makeup for all of you. I love her character. I think she's so funny.
Yeah, her character is so funny. She says it to someone and they're like, I don't need makeup. You know who else is really funny? I don't even know his name. He's not even in the band, but like the cute little redhead kid.
Those kids are so little. They're so young.
Yeah.
That adds to it as well. Oh my god, when they filmed the first music video, The Riddle of the Model, I can't remember his character's name, but the black person in the band moving the keyboard so he's like right front and center killed me.
That whole scene in general, and they go to his house and they're like talking to him as if he like just moved there yesterday. He's like, you want to play in our band? He's like, yeah, sure. Like, that's the vibe of it, and that's the thing. You have to be able to capture that like innocence on stage, which is very hard if they're cast older.
Yes, I think they intentionally looked for teenagers who did not have very much experience to try and capture that authentically. The actor who played Eamon, loved him, thought he was so good.
And what you were saying earlier, like the songwriting scenes is like, these kids shouldn't be doing this at that age. They shouldn't be like, gotta get together to write a song about my feelings, but like they are, and it's so wholesome. It felt
very boy, it felt very teenage boy. Like, I can't just have a discussion about my emotions. I have to, frame it as we're writing a song for our band.
Yeah.
But he actually just wanted to get together with his friend and be like, this is what I'm going through. This is what's happening to me. Like,
it's kind
I
of
need to work this out.
Same, in the final, like, music sequence when they're performing in the gym and they break the mold and they sing To Find You, and he's like, it's a slow song, and Eamon is like, just do it, like it's a great song, just do it. I'm like, this is the moment. Like it's just very I don't know, it's so wholesome.
Like being vulnerable.
It's such a wholesome movie.
And of course the end when they like, you know, this might be our first and last performance, and they put on the masks and like Brother Baxter.
I loved it.
Funny, and everyone has them.
I would recommend this movie to anybody. It's like it's a good movie. Like it's a family movie, I would say. It's also like a good movie to just like throw on. I would literally watch it again. Like no notes. Very good. And yeah, I don't know. We'll obviously be keeping up to see Sing Street's life. It was removed from that Playbill website of like upcoming. So, but the Wikipedia page still says eyeing Broadway. So we'll see what happens. I wonder, did they ever create an Instagram account? I don't even know, like to see if that was like active.
Let's find out.
But yeah, the last that we have heard of Sing Street was its Boston run, August 2022. And now we are almost a full year later and still waiting for its run on Broadway. So
Sing Street Broadway posted on Instagram for the last time in March 12th, 2021. So that's where we're at right now.
So
that's really where we're at right now.
It will be interesting to see if this ever makes it to the stage, and you better believe if it ever goes to Broadway, we will be going. So
absolutely, 100%.
So yeah, that's our thoughts on Sing Street, and now it's time for our obsession of the week.
Okay, this obsession, I have to credit the Twitter account Chris Peterson on Stage Blog, because he tweeted a performance from the musical It Should Have Been You at the Tony Awards in 2015. Did you see this, Tara?
No, but I know that musical. Wasn't it, what's her name in that musical? Sierra Boggess?
It was like Sierra Boggess and what's Neil Patrick Harris's husband's name? David Burtka?
Yes.
They starred in it?
I was in New York. I was in New York when that show was on because I remember seeing like signage everywhere.
Yes, it was about a wedding that happened. I barely know what it's about. Really do not come to me for a plot summary. But the performance that they did at the Tony Awards that I remember at the time and that I got to revisit when someone tweeted about it, which is why it's so valuable to have recorded versions of... There is also cast recording. Why it's so valuable.
I thought you were going to say, which is why it's so valuable to have Twitter.
It is valuable to have Twitter, and Elon, give it back. Give it back to the people. I said the other day to my family, I was like, I miss, like, pre-Trump Twitter, if that makes sense.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like 2015.
Yeah.
What a time.
Yeah.
Miss those days. Twitter was the best. So, no, why it's so valuable to have recorded versions of performances from musicals, because it allows you to revisit them and remember them in a way you wouldn't necessarily have remembered them. So the song that was performed at the Tony Awards was sung by Lisa Howard, and it's called Jenny's Blues, and she just sounds amazing. She is singing her face off. There's really nothing else to say. It is a climactic, emotional moment in the show. I do know how the show ends. That kind of made me laugh, but this... Can I spoil this? So basically there are two main characters played by Sierra Boggess and David Burtka. They're the bride and groom at this wedding, and the plot twist at the end is that he is a gay man and she is a lesbian, and they were getting married as like, I honestly don't know. I have not seen this musical. This is from the Wikipedia summary. And I was just like...
But why is it called It Should Have Been You?
Because then they're both supposed to be with, like, other people. Like, they're in love with other people who are guests at the wedding. It should have been you.
So, I mean, again, I'm asking a question, and I feel like you don't know the answer because you haven't seen it, but, like, do they get to the altar? Like, do we get to the I do moments, and then they're like, actually, wait.
No, I think it's a bit earlier that...
This discovery is made?
That this discovery is made. Wow, the original Broadway cast has Montego Glover... Tyne Daly.
Wow.
Harriet Harris, Chip Zien, speaking of. And Elle Nathan, speaking of. Look at that.
What a cast.
Look at that. What a cast. It did not last very long on Broadway, but it will forever live in the cast recording, and specifically the song Jenny's Blues, sung by Lisa Howard. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And soon, welcome back to Broadway, Sierra Bogus in Harmony, the Barry Manilow musical.
Yep. Well, sounds exciting. Okay, Tara,
Also featuring Chip Zien.
Chip Zien. Speaking of.
Okay, my obsession this week. I feel like if you were to ask me a year ago if this song would be an obsession, I would say absolutely not. Because if you go back to our season preview, you know that I basically trashed Josh Groban, being like, I can't see him as a Sweeney Todd. I don't understand it. Well, yeah, well, then I listened to Epiphany, and I literally have not stopped listening to it since it's been released. Sweeney is doing this weird thing right now that they're only releasing, like, individual tracks. They have not released a full cast recording yet, and it's been, like, 2 months. But, I mean, Not While I'm Around was released the other day, and I was very surprised at Gaten's vocals. He sounds amazing, so listen to that one, too. But Epiphany... I loved this song anyway. It's like the one song that has always been a standout to me from Sweeney Todd. I think that Josh sounds so good on this, and he doesn't sound like his typical, like, you raise me up Josh Groban. I'm like, oh, this is Broadway. This is Tony-nominated Broadway actor Josh Groban, and if this is the performance that he's giving on stage, I feel like I would really love it. But my favorite part of this song that they've released is the orchestrations. It's like actually unbelievable what they're doing with these orchestrations. And I really hope that everything that we read about this production about how bad the orchestrations are in theater isn't true, because if it doesn't sound like this, then I don't want it.
I know.
Like that's the like crazy thing to me. This just made me think of, which is like very off topic, but that Rent that is going to the Kennedy Center with Alex Boniano and Jareth Feldman, it's a 96-piece orchestra. Did you know this?
I didn't. That's amazing.
I was like, 96 pieces?
I'm so curious to hear that sounds, because that's a lot of instruments.
I know. We've never been to... Kennedy Center is like on a list of a list of a list, I think, of places to get to eventually.
Yeah.
But like, I think Sweeney is 30-something? I can't remember. I think it's 36 person orchestra, which is like very large for Broadway. So like, almost triple that is insanity to me for Rent. Like, that feels crazy.
But it is like a short run concert version. So that's kind of the purpose of it.
But yeah, that's kind of like the downfall of, I mean, I don't know. We haven't seen Sweeney, but like, again, these orchestrations, I think, is the reason that people are like running back to see this show, because it's the first time that it's been done as like originally intended with a full orchestra. And if you're not getting what it sounds like it does on this cast recording, then like we really got to reevaluate the sounds in our theaters.
No, sometimes the sound mix is really hard, and it's mixed for a certain spot in the theater and not for everybody else. If you're on the side, sometimes things sound funny. Yeah. Which is frustrating, because you've still paid a very expensive amount for your ticket. Mm-hmm. No, it's true. Sound mix is rough. That is our roundabout way of an obsession of the week, and also our thoughts on Sing Street. Like we said this entire episode, I don't know. We'll see where this lands. We'll see where it ends up. We'll be keeping track, and if anyone has seen Sing Street, I would love to know what your thoughts of the stage production are. So yeah. You can listen to any of our other episodes by subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a comment and a rating on Apple Podcasts. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Off to BY Podcast, and Threads, I guess. I know. I was going to say, should we still be promoting Twitter? I don't know anymore. Are we Off to BY Podcast on Threads? Yeah, it's the same as your Instagram account. Great. It's the exact same as your Instagram account. Or follow us on TikTok. We're having a good time on TikTok. Yeah. And let us know what you think the potential life of Sing Street is. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.